Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. Today is Saturday, October 4th, 2025, back with another episode. Thank y'all for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I want to get y'all to imagine something. I'm trying to describe something that I read about the life of a slave. Back in the day in America, we had slavery, right? And we had a civil war that was fought supposedly to end slavery. So from time to time, I would think about my ancestors and what they had to go through. And I often sometimes think and wonder what it was like to be a slave. So I want to describe some of the things that I came up with or that I read about and, documentaries and what have you, what it was like to be a slave. One of the first things, they had to work for free. From the time they were born, they were groomed, bred, and prepared to work their entire lives for nothing. They were expected to work and not be able to enjoy what they work, the fruits of their labor, what they work for. A lot of times, all they got for their work was a little roof over their head, the bare minimum clothes on their back, and the bare minimum food. That's what they got for all that hard work they did. The slave worked hard for somebody else, a master. And for all the hard work, didn't get much, if anything, for it. A basic roof over their head, the minimum of clothing, and food. That was it. And they had to work sun up to sundown, from the time they were born to the time they couldn't work no more. And that was whatever the system or the master determined, you couldn't work no more. The life of a slave. To where if you refused to work, you would be punished. You would have to go through some type of pain, some type of suffering that was placed on you if you refused to work. They may do something to your family, your woman, your kids. They might take something from them, remove them from you as punishment if you didn't work. The life of a slave. It was times I would say, I can't imagine having to live like that. I done said many a time, I couldn't have lived back then. Cause I wouldn't have been no slave. I've heard a lot of my family and friends say the same thing, black people. I couldn't have lived back then either, big boy. I couldn't have been no slave. Hell no. I couldn't have been no slave. Working for nothing. Work your ass off and ain't got nothing to show for it. But maybe a roof over your head, some clothes on your back, and some scraps to eat. That's all you got to show for all this hard work for all your life. The life of a slave. Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? If you don't know where I'm going with this, let me repeat that first. Because some of y'all ain't going to get it. I got to drill it into your head. The life of a slave From the time the slave was born, as a child, they was groomed, prepared, taught to be ready to work all their life for their master. From the time they was born, they were groomed, taught, and prepared as a child. So when they get of age, they were going to have to work the rest of their life for the master. For nothing. With the roof over their head, the few clothes on their back, and maybe something to eat, some scraps. The life of a slave. Hard work. Felt like giving up and quitting. Wanting to die sometimes. Some of them even took their own self out. Couldn't take it no more. Couldn't take being a slave. That was a rough life, I must admit. But here's the thing. We had a civil war. And the slaves were, the Emancipation Proclamation and the Civil War ended in, I think, 1865, and the slaves were free. Or were they? Y'all know the answer. Slavery never ended. Because here we are today. If you didn't know where I was going with this, slavery still is here. Under a different name. Now we call it going to work. I got to go to work. And what are we doing? How is this slavery, big boy? You work from the time you were born. We were prepared, taught, groomed. You know, school. What you think school was teaching you how to do? Work. So as children, they're like the children of the slaves a couple of centuries ago, or however long slavery was. The children of those slaves had to be taught what they were going to be doing. Same thing we do. We go to school to learn how to go work. Same thing. And then as we get older, we go work all our life. And the majority of us, especially nowadays, and really it's worse nowadays because now a lot of us can't even working, don't have a roof over our head. Can't afford to buy the clothes. Can't afford the food. So now it's kind of like even worse than the slavery of back then. Because at least when they worked, they didn't have to worry about a roof over their head. It might have been a shack, but they didn't have to worry about having a roof over their head if they worked. If they worked, the slave back in the day, they didn't have to worry about clothes on their back, even though the clothes was raggedy, they would have them. And they didn't have to worry about the scraps on the table, as long as they worked. Fast forward to the day. Now you can still work and still not have a roof over your head, even though you're working. You can work nowadays as we slaves, and still not be able to afford the clothes, not be able to afford the food. So now you're working and ain't getting nothing for it, not even the scraps. Slavery did not end. It just transformed and mutated. And it went from one group of people, which was the black people, the Africans, to all people. The slave masters realized they can get more done, make more money, get more accomplished if they enslave more than one group of persons. If they enslave more than just the African, the black people. How about we enslave everybody? That ain't us. How about we enslave white people, Chinese people, everybody? So now we got all kinds of people. We got white folks and black folk working side by side on the same slave plantation. I go to work with white folks every day. A lot of y'all working with white folks, black folks side by side on the same slave plantation. When once upon a time, it was just the black folks. Now it's everybody. We all slaves. You ain't got to imagine what life was like for a slave. But Big Ward, if I don't go to work, I ain't getting punished, though. They got punished. Yes, you are. You don't go to work, you're going to get punished. No, they ain't going to beat you with a whip. Pa-pow, pa-pow. No, they ain't going to put some shackles around your neck and have you out there in the sun. No. But if you don't go to work, you're going to be out there in the sun anyway, because you're going to be homeless. Nowadays, you're homeless if you work, but you damn sure going to be homeless if you don't work. If you don't go to work, you say, I ain't going, I refuse, I ain't working no more. You will be punished. You won't be able to eat. If you're a man, you damn sure ain't getting no coochie. You're going to watch your family suffer and struggle because you ain't working. You refuse to be a slave. I ain't going in, I ain't going to do that. You're going to get whipped. Not with a physical whip, pow, not with that whip. You're going to get whipped with a mental whip. But you're going to get whipped if you refuse to go to work for the slave master. The same as the slave back during slavery, you're going to get whipped if you refuse to obey your master. When your master say come in at 7, you better have your ass there at 7. And when your master say you can't leave until 3:30 or 4 o'clock, you better not leave. You better not dot that door until 3:30 or 4 o'clock. Or you will be punished. The master will say, you about to get whipped. Because you didn't do what I told you to do, boy. You fired. That's your punishment. You're laid off. That's your punishment. You're on probation. Suspended. That's your punishment. So now you got to go through the mental whipping of your check being short. You can't afford to pay your light bill this month. Your check being short, now you can't. Your wife wanted something, needed something. Your kid needs some shoes. That's punishment when you ain't able to do that. You're being whipped when you ain't able to do that. We slaves, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the plantation. Some of us believe. I was one of them that was delusional. Believing if I go get my own, if I do this, that, I'm gonna be free. Only to realize I'm still a slave too. Ain't no freedom. The only freedom is death. And I can't guarantee that freedom. But I know, as long as we here, we all slaves. Unless you the slave master. And the majority of us are not. Because just like back during the slavery in America, you only had a few slave masters. Everybody wasn't slave masters. Not even all the white folks. A lot of white folks, even back during slavery, they didn't own slaves. But they did work for the slave master and they got a few more privileges because they were white. But that slave master decided, hey, that white guy is beneath me. He ain't on my level. So he needs to be a slave too. So guess what they did? They decided to make the poor whites slaves just like the blacks. Welcome to the plantation, Billy Bob. Come sit right on side of me and the rest of the black folks, and we're going to pick this cotton together until we figure out a way to get up off this plantation together. And if we don't do it together, neither one of us will be free. So the slave master figured that out. Keep them divided, they'll never be free. We ain't even got to watch them. We ain't got to worry about them escaping. Because if we keep them divided, they'll keep each other from escaping. Look at black folks. Look at my people. We can't stand to see another black person look like they finna get out the bucket. We're gonna pull them right back down. Slave master ain't gotta do nothing no more. We do it to ourselves. The Ku Klux Klan ain't gotta kill black folks no more. We kill ourselves. So the same thing with the newly found white slave and the slave from other nationalities. Welcome to the plight of the black man all his life in America. Now we all slaves. And we stay divided. You're a Democrat, you're a Republican, you're a liberal, you're a conservative. We're going to stay divided. So, the slave master ain't got to keep us in check. The slave master ain't got to worry about us escaping. Because we're going to keep each other from escaping. They devised a masterful and diabolical plan. So now we ain't got to imagine what it's like to be a slave. Because we live in it. We know what it's like to be a slave. To work and can't afford to do nothing. Go to work, can't do nothing. How many of y'all work every day and can't even go to the beach? Can't even take your wife out on to a dinner date. Damn sure can't go on no week's vacation to the Bahamas. How many of y'all working every day just to have a roof over your head, few victuals in your stomach, and some rags on your back, and that's all you got? And your little horse that you ride back and forth to work. And all the horse is for is to get you back and forth to work. You know, we call them cars now, but that's your little horse. They're just making sure you're able to get back and forth to your plantation. That's it. Welcome to life of a slave. Are we having fun yet? I'm not. As I often said, I couldn't have been no slave back then. I would have hated it. Hold on. I am one. Remember that black folk? I couldn't have been no slave. I couldn't have been no slave. Shit. We doing just fine right now being slaves. I'm one right now. Took me a minute to come to that conclusion. But now what? I don't know. Play the cards you was dealt. That's all I can tell you. Whoever did this, whoever created this, whoever made it, hey, it wasn't me. Don't be mad at me. Don't blame me about it. I ain't do it. I'm in this shit with y'all. That's why we relate. We're on the same damn plantation. I done tried to escape a many a time. I done ran a many a day trying to get up off this plantation. And the slave catchers always come catch me, bring me right back. You know, the slave catchers, the bills, the responsibilities, your rent, your light, your gas, the slave catcher. When you try to escape and not be on the plantation no more, the slave catcher come catch you and bring you back to the plantation. You quit, but end up having to go back because the slave catcher ran you down. The hounds got behind you. Them dogs. You heard the dogs coming. Light bill, water bill, gas bill, child support, alimony. Your wife need braces. Your wife need this. Your wife. The hounds ran you down. Brought you back to the plantation. And you had to go back to work whether you wanted to or not. The life of a slave. You ain't got to imagine what it'll be like. You already know. You living it right now. Get it, got it good. Bye.